What do you know about antigen? Anybody? What is mean by antigen? Can anybody? Yes, Radhika.
Yes, sir. एक minute.
म्यूट केला बेटा तू. तुझा माइक म्यूट आहे. राधिका सूर्यवंशी माइक म्यूट आहे तुझा. अनम्यूट कर. हा, परत म्यूट झाला. राधिका माइक म्यूट आहे तुझा. माइक म्यूट आहे बेटा राधिका तुझा.
Hello.
हा, माइक म्यूट आहे म्हटलं तुझा.
Sir, K.
Sir, may I?
हा, यस यस.
Antigen is any substance which, when introduced parentally into the living animal body, stimulates the production of antibody with which it reacts
sir.
specifically in an observable manner.
Right. So when you talk about definition, you see, you have defined antigen as any foreign substance. It may be living or non-living. Okay, any foreign substance which, when introduced parenterally. What do you mean by parenterally? There are two very important what you say terminologies here. One is parenterally, and another is specific. Okay, two things are important in what you say the definition. One is the what has happened. Okay. Two things are important, or two words. Parentally and immune specific. These two terms are, or two words are very important. I request all of you, those who are there, please mute your mic. Again, back voice is being recorded. Okay. So antigen can be defined as any foreign substance which, when introduced parenterally into the living animal or living body, it induces or evokes the immune system for production of either antibodies or specific T cells. These antibodies or specific T cells which have been produced as a result of this antigen, or as a result of response, immune response of the host towards this antigen, is able to specifically react with that particular antigen in an observable manner. So that is the complete definition of antigen. I repeat, antigen is defined as any foreign substance, living or dead, which, when introduced parenterally means the route other than oral, any route. It may be intramuscular, it may be intravenous, it may be subcutaneous, or any other mode of introduction except oral. Getting me? So when a foreign substance, it is introduced parenterally, excluding, that is to say excluding the oral route, into the host, it induces the immune system of the host for production of either antibodies or specific T cells. Now, formation of antibodies or specific T cells, it specifically depends on the type of antigen. If antigen is extracellular, like say bacteria or so forth, then the type of immune response which is being given by the host will be antibodies. But in case if it is virus like thing or intracellular parasite, then it will be T cells. You must have heard about corona now. We are all locked down of corona because of corona, and in corona the causative organism is COVID or CoV2, coronavirus 2. It is considered as a novel strain. Now, this is a virus and therefore it is intracellular parasite. So, whenever it will get entry in our body, it is expected that if you are immunologically strong, your body will respond to it and specified T cells will be formed and variety of the biomolecules will be formed by the body in response to that. You must have also heard about cytokine storms, which is basically found to be is a product. Cytokines, these are the products of immune response. But in this particular case of corona, it has been produced in excess amount, and that is destroying the host cell, so that the mortality rate is being increased a lot. So that is what. So as I stated, two things are important in the definition. One is parental administration, and second is specific reaction. Any antigen, when it is introduced into the body, it is able to induce the immune system for production of antibodies or specified T cells. Now, production of antibodies or specified T cell will depend on the type of antigen. If the antigen is extracellular, then mostly it will be masterminded by antibody mediated immune response. And if the antigen is what you can say intracellular, then for neutralization of this intracellular parasites, you require the T cells, which will be playing an important role. So this is the definition. Hope you understood the definition. Understood or not?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
No. The immune response, as I stated, may be generated either by production of antibodies, or it may be either by production of specified T cells, you can say. It can be by specified T cells. And just now I have told you that when antibodies will come in picture and when sensitized T cells will be formed. Whatever the type of antigen is there, depending upon that particular antibody or T cells will be formed, and both will react in a specific manner, specific and observable manner. This is very important. Specific and observable manner it will react. You can see, because whatever the test serological reactions are there, जसं आपण नेहमी blood grouping करतो. So when you are supposed to know your blood group, what you do, you take your blood sample, you allow it to react with standard antiserum, which is actually antibody. So your blood is antigen and the antiserum is an antibody. So you allow it to react. If there is observable reaction, you say that there is presence of a particular antigen. If there is no observable reaction, then you say that that particular antigen is not there, isn't it? So it is so simple. So production of antibodies and then its reaction with specific antibody is equally important in this aspect. So as I stated, any foreign protein, it may be as simple as a albumin, or it may be red blood cells, it may be plant or animal origin antigen, it may be vegetable proteins also, or it can be poisonous compounds, ingredients like snake poison or snake venom, and all this can act as an antigen. So again, I repeat, antigen is a foreign substance which when introduced parenterally into the host, it will evoke the immune response. As a result of this immune response, it will lead to production of either antibodies, specific antibodies, and or specified T cells with which there will be specific and observable reaction. If you find that this sort of thing is there, then that particular substance will be referred as antigen. Now, when we say that any substance can be referred as an antigen, but there is a what you can say, there is a limitation. Any substance to which we refer as antigen should possess two important attributes or two important properties to be an antigen. And therefore we say that normally there are two attributes of an antigen to be antigenic. Now keep two things in mind. When you talk about antigen, any substance can be referred as antigen, provided that it should be foreign to that particular individual. Okay. Now further, when a substance is foreign, we can refer it as antigen, but whether that antigen possesses these two attributes, these two characteristics, these two properties or not, depending upon that there is a classification made as complete antigen or incomplete antigen, right? So when you talk about the antigens or attributes of antigen, you should see to it that a substance which is foreign can be referred as antigen only when it shows two properties. First is immunogenicity and second is immunological reactivity. Now what is immunogenicity? As it has been placed, you can very easily see on the slide that immunogenicity is the capacity of a substance to provoke or induce specific immune response. Getting me? Immunogenicity is the capacity of that particular substance which when introduced parenterally into the host is able to provoke specific immune response, right? So depending on its type, whether it is a extracellular parasite or intracellular parasite, it will specifically induce the immune response. If it is a intracellular parasite, it will evoke cell mediated immune response. If it is extracellular parasite, it will provoke antibody mediated immune response, right? So when a substance is introduced into the host and if it is able to induce the immune system for a specific immune response, that is referred as immunogenicity. And second thing, a substance should possess, to be a antigen, it should possess immunological reactivity. Now, what is this immunological reactivity? Immunological reactivity is a specific reaction of an antigen with antibody or specially synthesized T cells or T lymphocytes. Now, if you look carefully to the definition of antigen, these two properties we have already incorporated into the definition, isn't it? We have said that antigens are the foreign substances which when introduced parenterally into the host, it evokes the what you say immune response, specific immune response, and then whatever antibodies or T cells are formed, it reacts with this antigen in a specific and observable manner. So if a substance is showing both these attributes, that is, it is showing immunological reactivity as well as it is showing immunological reactivity, immunogenicity and immunological reactivity, if these two properties are observed in a, or if it is shown by a antigen, then you can very easily say that that is a complete antigen. So based on this, you have two types of antigen. First is complete antigen, which is also called as immunogen. Immunogen or complete antigens are those antigens which are showing both the attributes, that is immunogenicity and immunological reactivity. Means it is able to induce the immune system for production of antibodies or T cells. Also, it is having ability to specifically interact with these in a observable manner, specific and observable manner, right? Now, incomplete antigens, which are also called as haptens. Now, here also one statement you can make. When you talk about complete antigen, we have refer it as immunogen. Antigen, every antigen cannot be referred as immunogen. Every antigen cannot be referred as immunogen. Antigen can be referred as immunogen only when it shows both the attributes or both the properties, that is immunogenicity and immunological reactivity. If either of the attribute is not shown or not associated with that particular foreign substance, then instead of referring it as a antigen or immunogen, we will refer it as hapten or incomplete antigen. We will refer, or it is referred as incomplete antigen or hapten. So these two types of antigens you need to keep in mind. First is immunogen. Immunogen shows both the attributes, that is, it has immunogenicity and it is also showing immunological reactivity. Whereas incomplete antigen or haptens are those substances which are not having ability to induce the immune system for production of either antibodies or specified T cells, but they possess immunological reactivity. Got the difference between these two? Hello? Are you able to hear me? You are able to hear me or not? Anybody can say you are able to hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, have you got the difference between complete antigen and incomplete antigen?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Once again, I am repeating, complete antigens are those substances which possesses both the attributes, that is immunogenicity and immunological reactivity. Okay. And incomplete antigens, or which are called as haptens, are those substances which possesses only one attribute, that is immunological reactivity. They are not having ability to induce the immune system for production of antibodies. But if antibodies are already there in circulation, these haptens can react with it. And therefore it is stated that haptens are incomplete antigens. They are not able to induce immune system on their own for production of antibodies, but they show immunological reactivity. That is, if antibodies are there, these antigens can specifically react with it. Okay. Now, antigens which are able to induce antibody formation, as I stated, they are able to react with it specifically in an observable manner. Such type of antigens, immunogens, they are referred as complete antigens or immunogens. These are able to generate an immune response by itself and do not need any help of a carrier molecule or anything like that. But when you talk about the incomplete antigens differs with that of the complete antigen, that they are not able, incomplete antigens are not able to induce the immune system for production of antibodies. But if antibodies are there, they can definitely what has happened? Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now types of antigen we have talked about. Now coming to the incomplete antigens, as I stated, incomplete antigens are those antigens which on their own are not able to induce immune system for production of antibodies or specified T cells. Means they lack immunogenicity. They lack immunogenicity. हे बघा, मी ते आत्ताच सांगितलं होतं ना की माईक म्यूट करा म्हणून. ते भाजीचा आवाज येतोय, भाजी विकणीवाल्याचा. तर ते माईक म्यूट करून घ्या. सर्वजण माईक म्यूट करा. व्हिडिओ चालू राहू द्या, माईक म्यूट करा. मग त्याच्यानंतर मग क्लिअर आवाज येईल, नाही तर डिस्टर्बन्स होतो. Okay. Haptens, these are unable or they lack immunogenicity. That is, they are not able to induce the immune system for production of antibodies, but on their own, but they can acquire this immunogenicity if they are coupled with a carrier molecule. Basically, these haptens are low molecular weight substances, and as a result of that, they cannot induce the immune system because there is a limit. Of course, we will talk about it bit later, that whenever you talk about an antigen, there is certain properties of antigen. Apart from these two attributes, whatever we talked about, that is immunogenicity and immunological reactivity, there are other 5 properties which are very important to be seen in a antigen, and the antigenicity of antigen depends on these 5 different properties that we will see a bit later. So haptens can function as antigen but not as an immunogen, as I was talking earlier. Haptens are incomplete antigen. These are non-immunogenic, means on their own they are not able to induce immune system. But if these are coupled with a carrier molecule, if these haptens, these are coupled with a carrier molecule, then their molecular weight will be increased and they can become immunogenic. They can become immunogenic. So basically, haptens are low molecular weight compounds, mostly lipid or carbohydrates, while carrier molecules, which are normally used for covalently linking these haptens, these are proteins in nature. Mostly you can use serum albumin or serum globulin, or any synthetic polypeptide can be used to couple these haptens to that of the carrier molecule, and this as a whole carrier molecule coupled with the hapten can now act as an immunogen, but on its own it is not able, and therefore it is called as incomplete antigen, right? Because it is not showing both the attributes. It shows only immunological reactivity. It doesn't show immunogenicity. Now, based on the attribute what the hapten shows, that is immunological reactivity, there are 2 types of haptens based on their ability to react with the specific antibodies or T cells. Haptens are categorized into 2 types, that is simple and complex haptens. Simple haptens, as the name itself indicates, these are simple chemical substances. Most of the time these are monovalent and they can react with the antibody, or monovalent, they can react with the antibody, but after reacting with the antibody, they doesn't show any observable reaction. They doesn't show any observable reaction. Getting me or not? Simple haptens are simple chemicals, most of the time monovalent in nature. They can react with the antibodies, but not in an observable manner. So if they are not able to show observable reaction, most of the time we are not able to observe, and therefore it will be recorded as negative. Getting me? So this type of haptens, which are, or chemical substances which are not able to show observable reactions, these are called as simple haptens. Whereas when you talk about complex haptens are relatively larger molecules. These are basically polyvalent and they react with specific antibodies to give an observable reaction. It may be precipitation reaction, it may be agglutination reaction, or it may be flocculation reaction. Any sort of reaction it can show. But complex haptens, when compared to simple haptens, there is a marked difference between these two. One is both are having immunological reactivity, but simple haptens, when they are allowed to react with antibody, because they are monovalent, they are not able to show observable reaction. Whereas complex haptens, because they are polyvalent, slightly larger molecules, when they react with the antibody, they form an antigen antibody complex, and this antigen antibody complex, whatever it is formed, it is observable, and therefore this type of haptens which shows observable reaction, these are referred as complex haptens. Up to this, okay? Anybody is there listening me?
Yes, sir.
Up to this, okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now we will just get to the previous slide. The next important aspect which everybody should know about antigen is the antigenic determinants. Now you must be aware, you must be listening to the news of coronavirus, isn't it? It is stated that this virus is constantly changing its antigenic sites, and therefore it is very difficult to get a vaccine in the early period. Similar
Yes,
is
sir.
the case with HIV virus, right? So any antigen, when you talk about antigenicity of an antigen, it is determined by the smallest unit which is present on the surface of the antigen, which determines the antigenicity of that antigen. Just for example, I am of blood group A, and somebody, my friend, is blood group B. So why I am blood group A and why he is blood group B? That is because of the epitope which are present there, because of the epitopes which are present on the erythrocytes. I am possessing A antigen, the epitope are different. The person is with B, the epitopes are different, and so the reaction is variable or is different in different with different epitopes. So the smallest unit of antigenicity is known as antigenic determinant site or epitope. Every antigen has hundreds of epitopes. It has hundreds of epitopes on its surface. And when you talk about neutralization of this antigen, all those epitopes needs to be neutralized. So very specific reaction. Every epitope of an antigen, whatever it possesses, has specific ability, specific structure, right? So these epitopes, these are the smallest unit of antigenicity, which are known as antigenic determinant sites, or they may also be referred as epitopes. It is the small area on the antigen, depending upon what type of antigen it is. If it is a protein type of antigen, then this area of epitope, it is made up of around 4 to 5 amino acid residues. Or if it is a polysaccharide antigen, then around 4 to 6 monosaccharide unit are involved in formation of this epitope or antigenic determinant sites. These epitopes possesses specific chemical structure. It has electrical charge and steric configuration or steric hindrance. So like you must have heard about enzyme substrate reaction. In case of enzymes, we know that enzymes have a specific site called as active site. And the conformation of the active site is different in different enzymes, and therefore it requires a specific substrate, isn't it? Similar is the case with this antigenic determinants or epitopes. Every antigen, as I stated, have hundreds of epitopes on it. And these epitopes, not only many of the epitopes, they are on the surface, but many of the antigens are like this, that they have subsurface epitopes also. But the drawback of the immune system is that immune system is only able to recognize the terminal epitopes. The subterminal epitopes or subterminal antigenic determinant sites, they are not being recognized unless and until they are brought to the surface. And so this antigenic determinant site plays a very important role. Now in case of coronavirus also, all are talking about vaccine or waiting for vaccine. But let me tell you, just wait, you will have to wait for another a year or a half, 1.5 years, till the time it gets to you. Though the peoples may be saying that we have just got the vaccine and all this done, my experience is that for a successful vaccine to be marketed, it has to go under rigorous trial. If it is not going undergoing rigorous trial, then you are at risk. Means if you use this untested vaccine, then it is as good as you are getting artificial infection with the virus, right? So, and what sort of antigen is being targeted? As I stated, in coronavirus also, there may be hundreds of epitopes. Hundreds of epitopes can be there. So, as we know, spikes are there. These are lipoprotein in nature, right? Surface. Then there is a transmembrane protein that is also protein in nature. If you go inside, there is a core protein, and again, if you go down, there is nucleic acid, that is RNA. So any of this principle can be used in vaccine preparation. But then any type of vaccine, whatever you talk about, the vaccine will be prepared by forming. The vaccine will be containing epitopes itself only, isn't it? Because it has to be, it needs to induce the immune system for production of antibodies or specified T cells. So unless and until it is an antigen or antigenicity of an antigen is determined by epitope, and therefore antigenic determinants will be introduced in the vaccine, and these antigenic determinants, whatever the shape or size it will be having, accordingly it is expected that it will induce the immune system for production of the antibodies. Now, small part of an antigen which interacts with the antibody is called as epitope. Mostly it is on the surface. Mostly it is on the surface. As I stated, our immune system has an ability to recognize only surface epitopes. It has ability to recognize only surface epitopes. So small part of the, how big the antigen may be, forget about it. But as far as immunological reactivity is concerned, it is the epitope, which is a part and parcel of an antigen, which determines the characteristic of antigen, is actually involved in interaction with the antibody, not the whole antigen. There is interaction with the surface epitopes only. So small part of the antigen, that is epitope, which interacts with the antibody, is involved in the antibody reaction. Any given antigen may have several epitopes. Just now I have talked about. Any antigen may have several epitopes. Hundreds and thousands of epitopes can be there. And each of the epitope is recognized by a different antibody. मतलब अगर एखादे एंटीजन पे 100 epitopes है, 100 एंटीजेनिक डिटरमिनेंट साइट्स है, तो उसको अगर न्यूट्रलाइज करना है तो अपने बॉडी को 100 डिफरेंट एंटीबॉडीज बनाने पड़ेंगे. It is not a thing that one antibody is formed and this one antibody will take care of all the antigen. Not like that. Every epitope has specific structure, specific steric hindrance, specific characteristic, specific shape, and according to that shape, our immune system needs to produce antibody which will exactly be counterfeit to that of the antigen. Which will be exactly counterfeit to that of antigen, and then only that particular epitope will be able to firmly react with the antibody, and it can be neutralized or destroyed. Now in this particular figure you can come to know. Now this is antigen, okay, and these are the epitopes of the antigen. These are the epitopes of the antigen. See, this is one epitope, this is another, this is another epitope. Now, if you talk about the three epitopes of an antigen, which are referred as antigenic determinant sites, and if you talk about production of antibodies, so all these three epitopes, whatever you can see here, they cannot be neutralized, they cannot interact with the same antibody. So for example, this is one antibody, this is, now this site, जैसे एंटीजन के ऊपर जो साइट होती है उसको कहा जाता है इपिटोप, वैसे ही एंटीबॉडी के ऊपर जो साइट बनती है which is actually involved in reaction with that of the epitope, it is called as paratope. इसको क्या कहते हैं? इसको कहा जाता है paratope. So basically when you talk about antigen antibody reaction, there is interaction between the epitope of an antigen and paratope of an antibody. Epitope of antigen will react with paratope. So this is the paratope of the antibody which is formed in response to this. Right now, this antibody form cannot react with this epitope. This cannot react with this epitope. Even if it reacts, it will not be able to neutralize. And therefore, for neutralization of this epitope, you require this type of paratope or antibody having paratope. And for this type of antigen having epitope, you require this type of paratope. So when you talk about an antigen which is a multivalent, for its neutralization, you require different antibodies. And these antibodies are formed by the host immune system after studying these epitopes. After studying these epitopes, it undergoes transformation in such a manner that different antibodies are formed. Now you can see this is antibody A, this is B, this is C. Now these are antibodies, though all are.
Sir, we cannot see the slide.
You are not able to see the slide?
No, sir.
Just a minute.
No, sir.
किती वेळ झाला नाही बघितली तुम्ही स्लाइड?
आता एक 5 मिनिटाखाली सर ते अँटीजन सांगत होते तेव्हा.
हो का?
डेफिनेशन नंतरच नाही दिसली सर.
आय मग सांगायचं ना रे बेटा.
ऍट्रिब्यूट झाले होते सर, ऍट्रिब्यूट्स नंतर.
अच्छा. आता दिसतंय?
हो सर.
सर्वांना दिसतंय का स्लाइड?
Yes, sir.
हो, येस सर.
ठीक आहे. हे दिसलं नव्हतं का? हे तर सांगितलं ना मी, याच्यामध्ये पाहण्यासारखं काही नाही. अँटीजेनिक डिटर्मिनंट साइट्स, इपिटोप्स. ओके? This I was talking about, that epitopes and say for example this is an antigen. So antigen, as I stated, it is multivalent. It has many.
सर फक्त फाइल्स दिसायला ते दिसत नाहीये स्लाइड, फक्त फाइल्स दिसतायत.
कोणत्या फाइल्स?
तुमच्या डेस्कटॉप वरची, म्हणजे आयकॉन्स फक्त तुमच्या डेस्कटॉप वरचे, बस स्लाइड दिसत नाहीये. आता दिसतीये सर.
हा सर, आता
हा,
दिसतीये.
दिसतीये.
Okay. Now you can see it?
Yes sir.
Okay. So
Yes, sir.
I was talking about the epitopes. Antigenicity of an antigen is determined by a small site which is present mostly on the antigen. It is called as epitope. And any antigen may possess n number of epitopes that can range up to hundreds also. But the drawback of our immune system is that our immune system is only able to recognize the surface epitopes. The surface epitopes or antigenic determinant sites, these are being recognized. So when you talk about antigen, say for example, this is an antigen, and this antigen has these three different types of epitopes. Okay, 1, 2, and 3. Now, when this antigen is introduced, say for example, into the host, if the host is immunocompetent, is able to recognize this as a foreign substance, then it will induce the immune system for production of antibodies. Okay. Now, when antibodies are formed, normally antibodies are formed after recognizing these epitopes. If these epitopes are of different type or size or shape, accordingly the antibodies will be also of different types or different shapes. Because this is equally important, this is equally needed, that if you are not able to get this on at a right position, this interaction is very similar to that of enzyme substrate reaction. You must have seen enzyme substrate reaction. We know that there is a specific site on enzyme and it will allow the substrate to react, and therefore we say that it is a specific reaction. Similarly here, reaction is specific. Now the antigenic or the antigen, when you talk about antigen, and whatever the part it is there on the antigen which is actually involved in reaction with that of the antibody is called as epitope. And the antibody, this particularly, what this antibody is there, this antibody has a site which is exactly counterfeit to that of the antigen. This is called as paratope. I repeat, the substance or the antigen and the site, antigenic determinant site which is present on the antigen is called as epitope, right? And the site which is exactly counterfeit to that of the epitope which is present on the antibody is called as paratope. Now there is a whenever we say that their antigen antibody reaction is occurring, it is basically the reaction between the epitope of the antigen and paratope of the antibody. You can see here, right? This is single antigen but having three different antigenic determinant sites. So when antibodies are to be formed, one antibody will not be able to take care of this antigen. So three different types of antibodies you require. So this is one, this is another, and this is third one. So you can see in this particular case that all antibodies or the paratope of the antibodies, this particular part, you can say this particular part is referred as paratope. It is three different antibodies having three different paratopes which are exactly counterfeit to this antigen, right? So that is, therefore it is stated that antigenicity of an antigen, it is determined by the epitopes, that is antigenic determinant sites. You can see this also, that how specific this reaction is. Depending upon the type of the epitope, the immune apparatus or the immune system of the host forms an antibody with exactly a counterfeit paratope. So there is interaction between the epitope and paratope, and it always. So these are also called as the sites, antigenic determinant sites, which will be recognized by the paratope of the antibody, and there will be the reaction. But one always keep one thing in mind, that when you talk about this antigen antibody reaction, or that which is a reaction between epitope and paratope, epitope which are to the surface, which are on the surface, which are terminal epitopes, only will be able to be reacting with paratope, otherwise not. Or in another words, you can say that antibodies can be formed only against surface epitopes. Antibodies can be formed only against surface epitopes, and therefore it is very essential that epitopes of an antigen should be to the surface. Got it? समझ लो कहाँ?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Okay. Now coming to the
Yes,
properties of epitopes or properties of antigenic determinant size. Now size of these epitopes are very small, as I stated, depending upon whether the antigen is protein or polysaccharide in nature. If it is protein in nature, it will be made up of 4 to 5 amino acid residues, and if it is polysaccharide, 4 to 6 amino monosaccharide units will be involved in the formation of this epitope, which will be acting as a receptor site for that particular antigen. So size normally is around 25 to 35 angstrom of this epitope. Like this, hundreds of epitopes can be there on a antigen. As far as molecular weight is concerned, there may be variation in the molecular weight. It may be from 400 to 1000 Dalton, depending upon the type of the antigen. The determinant groups of protein antigen mostly are penta or hexapeptide, means 5 to 6 amino acid residues are involved in formation of a epitope of a protein antigen. Whereas if it is a polysaccharide antigen, then around 6 monosaccharide units are involved in formation of this epitope. A determinant is roughly 5 to 6 amino acid residues in size on a protein antigen and around 3 to 6 sugar molecule on a polysaccharide antigen. So that may differ, that is not exactly similar always. Then as I was talking about properties of antigen. As we have talked about two attributes, that a antigen should possess two attributes. Can anybody tell me what are the two attributes which a substance should possess to be antigenic? Can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
I'm asking something. What are the two attributes or two properties which an antigen should possess to be antigenic? Anybody?
Immune. Hello.
Yes, yes. Continue.
Immunogenicity and immunological reactivity.
Very good. Immunogenicity and immunological reactivity. Apart from these two, means if a substance possesses these two attributes or shows these two attributes, that is immunogenicity and immunological reactivity. What is meant by immunogenicity?
Capacity to provoke specific immune response.
Right. And immunological reactivity?
Specific reaction of antigen with antibody or specifically sensitized T lymphocytes.
Very good, very good, very good. So if a substance possesses both these attributes, even then, whether it will behave as a strong antigen or not will depend on these 5 different properties. There are, of course, number of properties that make a substance antigenic, but the exact basis of antigenicity is not still clear. जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल मैंने पहले अभी बताया कि 2 एट्रीब्यूट्स चाहिए, अब मैं बोल रहा हूं कि 2 एट्रीब्यूट से काम नहीं चलेगा, उसमें और आपको देखना पड़ेगा कि क्या प्रॉपर्टीज है एंटीजन की. So this goes on changing, variations is there, and accordingly the things will change. Now basically when you talk about properties of antigen, and when in exam the question is normally asked on properties of antigen, so you need to talk about this at least 5 different properties what are shown in this slide. Can you see the slide?
Yes, sir.
Okay. There are 5 properties, minimum properties which an antigen should possess. First is foreignness, second is size, third is chemical nature, third is susceptibility to the tissue enzymes, and the last one is genetic constitution of the host. So coming to the first one, that is foreignness. This is the 4 most important property which a substance should possess to be antigenic. Just for example, in our body, there are n number of antigens, but against these antigens, our body doesn't show any immunological reaction. Immune response बताती नहीं, because these antigens are present by birth, right? And during development of immune system, as these antigens are already there and therefore they are not foreign. They are not foreign to the host, and therefore this will not be referred as foreign, and so it will be considered as self, and against self antigen the immune response will not be shown normally under normal condition. अब कुछ exceptions उसमें होते हैं. In many of the immunological disorders, it may happen that the self antigens are recognized as non-self. And when this thing happens, that when the self antigens are being recognized as non-self, that time we normally refer that stage as autoimmune disease. Isn't it? You must have heard about it. Autoimmune disease is a state where the self antigens are recognized as foreign, and against it the antibodies are formed and self-destruction occurs. Similar is the case with a variety of hypersensitive reactions also, right? So foreignness, first thing is degree of foreignness also matters a lot. First thing, say for example, human blood protein, if it is injected in human, will not be that antigenic. But if animal protein is injected in human or vice versa, that will be antigenic, because the degree of foreignness is more. Degree of foreignness is more. So higher the degree of foreignness, more will be the antigenicity of antigen. More will be the antigenicity of antigen. तो पहला एक requirement ये है कि अगर कोई भी कंपाउंड या सब्सटेंस बॉडी के अंदर एंटर करता है, तो पहली बात जरूरी यह है कि इट शुड बी ए फॉरेन सब्सटेंस. इट मे बी लिविंग और नॉन लिविंग, फॉरगेट अबाउट दैट. एनी सब्सटेंस कैन बी acting as a antigen provided that it should be foreign first. This is one thing. Second thing, the size also. Any substance which is foreign substance cannot act as an antigen. Size matters a lot. It is stated that normally a substance which is having a molecular weight higher than or equal to 10,000. This is the prior requirement. Molecular weight of a substance, if is equal to 10,000 or more, then only it will be acting as a antigen, otherwise not. Normally we say that proteins are antigenic in nature. Of course, most of the proteins are antigenic in nature. But if you take an example there, low molecular weight compounds and high molecular weight compounds. So low molecular weight compounds may not act as a antigen. High molecular molecule can act. So that also matters a lot. Size of the molecule. If it is low, less than 5,000, if a molecule is having less than 5,000 molecular weight, it will not be recognized as antigen. नहीं तो अपना जीना मुश्किल हो जाता था. कैसे? See, every time when we fall ill, we go to doctor, isn't it? एक तर डॉक्टरकडे जातो आपण, नाही तर बाजूच्या मेडिकलवर तरी जातो, आहे ना. तिथून मग काहीतरी गोळ्या घेतो, एक तर डॉक्टरने दिलेल्या असतात, नाही तर मग आपण आपल्या मनाने घेतो. When you talk about tablets, these are chemicals, isn't it? Chemicals, when they are introduced into the body, these are foreign material. So when you talk about the first property, foreignness, if you talk about first foreign, that is a foreign substance, a non-living, so it should act as an antigen, isn't it? But this doesn't happen. Why? Because the molecular weight of injectables, pharmaceuticals, जो भी इंजेक्टेबल टैबलेट्स है, गोलियां है, दवाई है, उसमें जो भी एक्टिव प्रिंसिपल है, वर्ल्ड हेल्थ ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के नॉर्म्स के हिसाब से एंड एफडीए, फूड एंड ड्रग एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन के नॉर्म्स के हिसाब से, जो इंजेक्टेबल्स या इन विवो लेने वाले ड्रग्स है, फार्मास्यूटिकल ड्रग्स है, उनका मॉलिक्यूलर वेट 500 से कम होना चाहिए, उसका मॉलिक्यूलर वेट 500 से कम होना चाहिए। अगर वो 500 से कम है तो वो एंटीजन फॉरेन होने के बाद भी इट कैनॉट एक्ट एज एन एंटीजन, वेदर इट इज अमाइनो एसिड, प्रोटीन, पेप्टाइड और व्हाटसोएवर। जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल, you take an example of antibiotic. Many of the antibiotics are peptide in nature. They are peptidic. So basically they should act as an antigen because they are foreign. But because their size is small, the molecular weight is below 500, they cannot act as an antigen. So that is the importance of size. Similarly, chemical nature also plays a very important role. Chemical nature, when you talk about natural antigens, proteins and carbohydrates or polysaccharides, these are natural antigens. Among them also, proteins are more potent or more antigenic in nature as compared to that of polysaccharides. Can anybody tell me what may be the reason that why proteins are more antigenic than polysaccharides? Why proteins are more antigenic than polysaccharide? No? Are you able to hear me?
So proteins are made up of 20 different amino acids.
Right. So foreignness is more, variability is more compared to that of the polysaccharide, right? Very good. Then susceptibility to tissue enzymes is there and genetic constitution is there. We will see one by one. First, coming to the foreignness. As I stated, antigens which are foreign or the substances which are foreign to an individual are only considered as antigen and will induce the immune response. Those substances which are considered as self by the immune system will not be able to induce the immune system, right? So degree of foreignness also is important. So antigenicity of a substance is related to the degree of its foreignness. जैसे मैंने कहा कि ब्लड प्रोटीन एक ह्यूमन से अगर आप निकालते हो और दूसरे ह्यूमन में अगर डालते हो तो वो एंटीजेनिक है, नो डाउट इन दैट, बट द डिग्री ऑफ फॉरेननेस is low, so that will not be that antigenic compared to the one if animal blood protein is taken and it is injected into human, or human blood protein is taken and it is injected into animal. So there is a difference. The degree of foreignness differs. Human to human or species to species अगर आप देखते हो तो degree of foreignness is low, and so that will directly influence the antigenicity. You can say that antigenicity is directly proportional to the degree of foreignness. Higher the foreignness, higher the degree of foreignness, more will be the antigenicity of antigen, and vice versa will be the case, right? When an individual normally does not mount immune response against his or her own normal constituent antigens. Those antigens which are present by birth, the antigens which are associated with an individual by birth, these are normally considered as self-antigen, because the immune apparatus is developed afterwards, and these antigens are present by birth, and therefore they will be considered as self-antigen, and as they are considered as self, immune response will not be seen against this self-antigen. Okay, but as I stated, in case if immune apparatus or immune system is not behaving normally, and if it starts recognizing self antigen as foreign, if it starts recognizing self antigen as foreign, then there can be a situation called as autoimmune disease, or you can refer it as autotoxicus. Autotoxicus means self antigen are being destroyed by the immune response. So normally this doesn't happen, this doesn't occur. So therefore we say that an individual normally does not mount immune response against his or her own normal constituents antigens which are present by birth. But again, this is not a rule. Again, this was first recognized by Ehrlich, who proposed the concept of horror autotoxicus. That was what I was telling about. Fear of self-poisoning, where the self-antigen are considered as foreign. And when self-antigen are considered as foreign, then it will induce the immune system for production of antibodies, and these epitopes of the self-antigen will be destroyed. These cells will be destroyed. These antigens, which are self-antigens, will be destroyed, and that will actually cause to the death. That may cause to the death of an individual also if it is not being addressed in time. Tolerance to self-antigen, as I stated, is coordinated by contact with them during the development of immune apparatus. As I stated, that most of the antigens which an individual possesses, they are by birth. Of course, there are certain antigens which are being produced after birth, but then they are localized. So as they are localized, confined to a particular area, they may not be coming into circulation, and as they are not coming into circulation, they will not be considered as foreign antigen. Just for example, if you talk about I-lens protein, I-lens protein, it is present by birth, no doubt in that, but it is sequestered, it is localized to the lens, eye lens. It is localized to the site. It doesn't come in circulation. So immune apparatus is non-known to lens protein. If lens protein is damaged and if it comes in circulation, there are great chances that this lens protein can be recognized as foreign, and it can destroy the lens protein. Similar is the case with sperms. Sperms are not present by birth, or ovum, this is not present by birth. These are synthesized, or they come into existence after puberty, after a particular age, and that too they are localized to a particular area. If you take an example of sperm, they are localized to the testis, and so the immune apparatus is not aware about this. So though they are self antigen, but because they are sequestered or localized to a particular area, they may not be considered as self-antigen. If there is damage to the testes and the sperms are liberated, and if it comes into circulation, there is a great chance that these sperms can be recognized as foreign one, and it can implement the immune response against it and destroy it. So that will be referred as autotoxicus or horror autotoxicus type of things. Similarly, it is essential the breakdown of this homeostasis mechanism, it results into autoimmunization or autoimmune diseases, what I have talked about. That when the host immune system is not able to recognize its antigen as self-antigen and starts recognizing it as foreign, then it refers, that it is breaking this homeostasis, and it leads to autoimmunization or autoimmune diseases. Antigens from other individuals of the same species, जैसे मैंने अभी ह्यूमन की बात की, antigens from other individuals of the same species are less antigenic than those from the other. जैसे मैंने कहा कि ह्यूमन टू ह्यूमन अगर ट्रांसफर हो रहा है तो लेस एंटीजेनिक होगा, एंटीजेनिक होगा लेकिन लेस एंटीजेनिक होगा कंपेयर टू एनिमल टू ह्यूमन. जैसे रैबिट से आप रैबिट का ब्लड प्रोटीन लेते हो और ह्यूमन में अगर इंजेक्ट करते हो तो दैट विल बी हाईली एंटीजेनिक. ह्यूमन का ब्लड प्रोटीन लेते हो और दूसरे ह्यूमन में इंजेक्ट करते हो, that will be antigenic but less antigenic. So degree of foreignness will be lower in same species as compared to the different species. Antigens from related species, as I stated, are less antigenic than those from distinct species. Then coming to the another property, that is size. As I stated, that size plays a very important role. No doubt that the substance is, say, for example, foreign. But only foreignness will not determine the antigenicity. Along with that, it should have an appropriate size also. So antigenicity of an antigen is also related to the molecular size. Very large molecule, for example, like hemocyanin, which is having a molecular weight of around 6.75 million, these are highly antigenic compared to that of those like insulin. They are less antigenic or many of the time non-antigenic. Particles or substances with low molecular weight, which is less than 5000, are either non-antigenic or very weak antigens. तो जो मैंने अभी बात की थी फार्मास्यूटिकल कंपाउंड्स के बारे में या ड्रग्स के बारे में, तो वही बात है कि उनका मॉलिक्यूलर वेट 500 से कम होना चाहिए, होता है. वो फॉरेन रहने के बाद भी अगर बॉडी में इंजेक्ट किए जाते हैं तो दे आर नॉट कंसिडर्ड एज फॉरेन बिकॉज द मॉलिक्यूलर वेट इज लेस देन 500. एंड यहाँ रिक्वायरमेंट ये है कि कम से कम फॉर एन सब्सटेंस टू बी एंटीजेनिक the molecular weight of that substance should be equal to or greater than 10,000. You need to note this point always. Any substance, when we say it is foreign, it can act as an antigen only when the molecular weight is either equal to 10,000 or more than 10,000. Otherwise, it will either be non-antigenic or it will be a weak antigen. Low molecular substances may be made antigenic by adsorbing them on large inert particles, carrier molecules like bentonite or kaolin. जैसे मैंने इसकी बात की थी आपकी अभी इनकम्प्लीट एंटीजेंस की बात की थी या हेप्टन्स की बात की थी. Haptens, as I stated, on their own, they are not antigenic, isn't it? If you remember. Antigenicity can be rendered in an hapten by adsorbing or linking it covalently with the carrier molecule. Similarly, here also, low molecular weight substances can become antigenic if they are attached or they are adsorbed on a large particles like bentonite or kaolin, so that the molecular size will increase. And as the molecular size increases and it reaches to 10,000 or more than that, that particular substance will gain antigenicity. So effective immunogen or effective antigen should have a molecular weight greater than 10,000. Any substance, self or non-self, having molecular weight less than 10,000 will not be antigenic, right? Coming to the chemical nature, as I already talked about the fact that naturally occurring antigens are protein and polysaccharides. Protein antigens are more effective than polysaccharide, and you have told of also that why protein antigens are more effective than polysaccharide, because there is more variation of amino acids. Whereas when you talk about lipids and nucleic acid, these are also antigenic, but compared to protein and polysaccharide, these are less antigenic. But their antigenicity can be enhanced by coupling them with the protein. Just for example, nucleic acid, and if you couple it with the protein, it will become nucleoprotein. So nucleoprotein will be highly antigenic compared to that of nucleic acid. Yeah, lipoprotein. Lipoprotein will be more antigenic as compared to that of lipid. So when these are being coupled with a protein molecule, then it will become highly antigenic. But again, one thing you should know, that just being a protein will not serve the purpose. Just for example, if you talk about gelatin, gelatin is a protein, isn't it? Right from the first year we are studying about gelatin. Hai ki nahi? Gelatin is protein or not? Gelatin from the very beginning we are considering gelatin as a protein, but though gelatin is a protein, gelatin is non-antigenic. Gelatin, histone and protamines, these are non-antigenic. Though they are protein, they are not antigenic. So see, this is a statement which is exactly contradictory to the first statement what I told earlier, that proteins are naturally occurring antigen. The antigenicity of protein is higher. But here I am saying that gelatin, histone and protamines, being protein, they are non-antigenic. The reason is that these are incomplete proteins. Gelatin, histone and protamines, these are incomplete protein because they doesn't contain any aromatic amino acid residue. So for a protein to be complete, or for a protein to be antigenic in a right way, it is essential that there should be presence of at least one amino acid radical which is aromatic. One aromatic amino acid radical should be essentially present in a protein molecule. Then and then only that protein molecule will be antigenic, otherwise not. So example is gelatin, histone and protamine, which are protein in nature, but they are not antigenic. And the reason behind its non-antigenicity is absence of aromatic radical like tyrosine, right? So non-antigenic substances can become antigenic after combining them with aromatic radicals like tyrosine or so forth. So gelatin, histone and protamine can be made antigenic if they are coupled with aromatic amino acid radical like tyrosine or so forth, right? So this is another important aspect what you need to remember regarding the chemical nature, that protein no doubt is highly antigenic, but all proteins are not antigenic. For protein to be antigenic in nature, presence of aromatic, at least one aromatic radical, amino acid radical is essential. Chemically complex molecules are numerous, diverse epitopes and are more antigenic. So chemically complex molecules like proteins, they are more diverse, having more epitopes, and therefore they will be highly antigenic. If you talk about synthetic polypeptide, which is prepared in laboratory with repeating unit of a single amino acid, जैसे for example protein, protein एक बनाया है अपन ने synthetically जिसमें एक ही amino acid है, say for example lysine is there. The chain of amino acid or the number of amino acid in a protein is, say for example 250, but all the 250 amino acid residues which are forming a protein molecule is of the same type. So if same unit of amino acid are repeating, so that will not be a diversity. It will monotonous. No more variations are there. So such type of say biomolecules which are protein in nature but containing only repeating one unit of amino acid, though its molecular weight is high, but if you talk about antigenicity, its antigenicity will be lower as compared to a polypeptide chain which is made up of 20 or more amino acid residues. Though maybe chain may be smaller in size, say for example this chain is 100 amino acid residues long and the synthetic polypeptide chain is 250 amino acid residue long. Even then, the 100 amino acid residue long chain, which is made up of 20 different amino acids, will be more antigenic as compared to the synthetic polypeptide chain, which is around 250 amino acid long, but having only one repeating units in it, right? So that is the rule. As a general rule, antigenicity is stated to be increased with structural complexity. जितना ज़्यादा complex structure होगा, उतना ज़्यादा antigenic होगा. Substances with diverse chemical and structural properties are more powerful antigens. Substances with diverse chemical and structural properties are considered to be powerful antigens. Presence of aromatic antigen is essentially required. If more amount of aromatic residues are there, it will be highly antigenic, but at least one should be there in a protein molecule to be antigenic. Simple polypeptide containing tyrosine are more antigenic than polypeptide without tyrosine. So that I have already discussed, that aromatic amino acid radical should be included in it. The another property which an antigen should possess is susceptibility to tissue enzymes. If you remember, while talking about the epitopes, I have told you that our immune system is able to only recognize surface epitopes, isn't it? And it is not necessary always that the epitopes which are associated with antigens, they are always present to the surface. So here that will come in picture. The another property which an antigen should possess to be antigenic in nature is the susceptibility to tissue enzymes. It has been stated that substances which are metabolized and are susceptible to the action of tissue enzymes are better antigens as compared to those substances which are not metabolized or they are not susceptible to the action of tissue enzymes. Substances that are not susceptible to the tissue enzymes, such as polystyrene latex or so forth, they are not antigenic. Now, why this is so? This is very simple, because substances which are being acted upon by tissue enzymes, they can liberate the hidden epitopes and bring these hidden epitopes to the surface, and therefore it can be more antigenic as compared to the one which are not metabolized. जैसे मैंने पहले ही कहा कि antigenic determinant sites which are to the surface, they will only be involved in evoking the immune response, others will not, and against those epitopes only antibodies will be formed. But it is not the case that all the epitopes of an antigen will be to the surface. There will be many epitopes which are hidden inside or maybe subterminal, and these subterminal epitopes can be brought to the terminus only by making or only by hydrolyzing this or breaking down this substance into small fragments, so that then it will be coming to the surface, and once it comes to the surface, then it will be inducing the immune system for production of antibody. But यहाँ और एक बात आपको ध्यान में रखना है कि though we say that substances which are metabolized or they are susceptible to the action of tissue enzymes are highly antigenic, similarly you should also keep in mind that substances which are more susceptible or are rapidly broken down by the tissue enzymes, again these are not antigenic. क्योंकि अगर substances are rapidly broken down by the tissue enzymes, then there will be no use of or even immune system will not be required to come in picture, because the enzymes itself will metabolize it fast and it will degrade into very small pieces. So then it will no more remain as an antigen. So there will be no question. Just for example, protein है. Okay, protein is high molecular weight some substance, and if it is foreign, having molecular weight greater than 10,000, say for example, So naturally, as far as what we have talked about, it should act as an antigen. But suppose that protein is acted upon by tissue enzymes and it is fragmented into amino acid. If it is disintegrated into amino acid within no time, if it is rapidly broken down into amino acid by the tissue enzyme, then amino acids are not antigenic because they are low molecular weight substances. Getting me? So that is the difference. The substances which are metabolized and susceptible to the action of tissue enzymes, no doubt they are good antigens, but substances which are very rapidly broken down by the tissue enzymes, again they are not antigenic. Getting me the difference? Hope you are
Yes.
getting me. Now, the best example what you can quote is the synthetic polypeptide. You know, you must be knowing that whatever 20 different amino acids we talk about, which are metabolically important or metabolically produced rather, these amino acids are of L type, isn't it? So for a biological activity of a protein, it is essential that amino acid should be L type of amino acid. For example, and L amino acids are only biologically active, but there can be D amino acid also. For example, in vitro, in laboratory, if you synthesize a polypeptide chain, and this polypeptide chain is made up of amino acid, but the amino acid involved in the formation of this polypeptide chain is D amino acid. Okay, so if you are synthesizing a polypeptide chain and say for that, for example, the polypeptide chain is around 450 amino acid residue long and is having a molecular weight of 15,000 or 50,000. Okay, so naturally, as per our discussion, this should be acting as a strong antigen, should be strongly antigenic because it is protein in nature. It is made up of variety of amino acids, isn't it? Having high molecular weight compound, and it is foreign to the host. So all it satisfies all the properties. But even then you will find that it is not antigenic. Synthetic polypeptide chain, which is a high molecular weight compound made up of amino acid, a long polypeptide chain, but the amino acid involved in formations are of D type, and so they are not metabolized. So these are D amino acid residues or polypeptide chain made up of D amino acid residues are not susceptible to the tissue enzymes, and therefore they are not antigenic. And therefore this is important property that it should be susceptible. Moderate susceptibility should be there, not high susceptibility. If it is highly susceptible, then it will be completely broken down. Again, it will be non-antigenic, right? Susceptibility should be there, but moderate susceptibility should be there so that it can just fragment it. And fragmentation will be to an extent that whatever the hidden epitopes are there, these hidden epitopes will be brought to the surface. And finally, as I stated, while polypeptide, which are consisting of L amino acid, if are there, they will be antigenic because they are susceptible. The last property, and after this we will stop. तुम्ही नाही तर म्हणाल सर किती वेळ घेत आहेत बोलत आहेत तर मी याच्यानंतर थांबणार. Genetic constitution of the host, this is the fifth property which an antigen should possess. The immune response, of course, is genetically controlled phenomena, and therefore genetic makeup of the host plays a very important role in development of immune response. Now we know it very well. Suppose there are 4 members in the family. All 4 members are genetically different unless and until they are homozygous. Okay, सिर्फ homozygous twins में ये लागू नहीं होता, अदरवाइज सबके लिए लागू होता है कि ऑल द क्लोज फैमिली रिलेशंस में जो भी है उनका भी अगर जेनेटिक मेकअप आप देखते हो तो दे आर जेनेटिकली डिफरेंट एंड देयरफॉर द इम्यून रिस्पांस इज आल्सो डिफरेंट. And therefore we say that all will not fall ill of any disease, even though all are exposed to the infectious agent. So that differs because genetic constitution, genetic makeup of an individual is different, and accordingly the immune response will be different, and that will determine the resistance or susceptibility of an individual host towards this. The ability of host to respond to a particular substance or antigen varies with its genetic makeup. Now, for someone, even a dust particle can act as an antigen. For some individual, a pollen grain can also act as antigen, whereas for other, pollen grain or dust particle may not be antigen. Now, what difference is there? The difference is in genetic makeup. Genetic makeup of an individual determines the antigenicity of an antigen, whether a particular substance will be antigenic in an individual or not will be determined by. ऐसा हो सकता है अपने में कोई ऐसा होगा अभी जो क्लास में है अटेंड, इसमें से ऐसा कोई होगा एक आधा कि जो कोरोना को रेजिस्टेंट है ना, हो सकता है, you cannot say anything because genetic makeup is different, and therefore by virtue of genetic makeup you can have that particular ability or property in you that you can resist that infection. And in that also you can see that most of the people who are immunologically not strong, they are more prone to infections. They are more prone to infections. So that says the immunogenicity of antigen varies from species to species and even from individual to individual. So for example, if you talk about pure polysaccharide are antigenic when they are injected in mice and humans. For mice and humans, pure polysaccharide are antigenic. But for guinea pig, pure polysaccharide is not antigenic. For guinea pig, pure polysaccharide is not antigenic. Now here itself it justifies that the genetic makeup of guinea pig is different from that of human and mice, and therefore pure polysaccharide when is injected into mice and human behaves as an antigen, but when the same pure polysaccharide is injected into guinea pig, it is not antigenic for guinea pig. The reason is the genetic constitution of this host is different, so it determines the antigenicity. This is because there is difference in the genetic makeup of the host. When all physical and chemical requirements for immunogenicity are fulfilled, I am repeating, when all the physical and chemical requirements for immunogenicity are fulfilled, means if the substance is foreign, is high molecular weight, is protein or polysaccharide in nature, okay, and is susceptible to the action of tissue enzymes, if it is fulfilling the requirements of immunogenicity, the capacity of an individual to respond to various antigen finally will be genetically determined. ऐसा कोई बोल नहीं सकता कि इस एक हमारे घर में अगर किसी को इन्फेक्शन होगा तो वो मुझे भी होगा, जरूरी नहीं है. अगेन इन्फेक्शन होना और उसका रिजल्ट इन्फेक्शियस डिसीज में होना, ये दो अलग बातें हैं, राइट. So not necessary that all will suffer from the infection. So I think we should stop here. If have you understood the things?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Any questions? Now you can unmute your mics. Now all of you can unmute your mics and let us discuss the things. If you have any question, you have any problem related to this, right from infection also. यस,
Yes, sir.
कोणाला काही प्रश्न आहेत? काही पार्ट असं समजला नाही समजला, ऐकू आलं बरोबर नाही आलं? आता सध्या 12 लोक आहेत फक्त, बाकीचे कुठे गेले? हा, तुमच्या वर्गाचा रिस्पॉन्स फार कमी आहे ऑनलाईनला, का बरं? आम्ही पीजीच्या परीक्षा पूर्ण ऑनलाईन घेतल्या, त्यांचे प्रेझेंटेशन ऑनलाईन घेतले, सेमिनार ऑनलाईन घेतले, आणि तुम्ही जॉईन होऊ नये एक फक्त 12-15 मुलं जर समजा येत असतील, मग कसं कंटिन्यू करायचं बरं? आहे कोणाला काही प्रश्न? पवार.
नो सर, नो सर.
रोहिणी काकडे.
No, sir.
नो. राधिका.
No, sir.
नो और हो? नो की हो?
No.
नो क्वेश्चन. सावडे.
नो सर.
नो क्वेश्चन. समजलं का पण?
येस सर.
बर. मग आता पुढचं असेच जर समजा राहिले तर मग काही हे नाही, त्याला संख्या वाढली पाहिजे. बाकीचे कुठे आहेत?
सर त्यांच्याजवळ मोबाईल पण नसू शकतो ना, हा प्रॉब्लेम.
नाही, मग त्या जॉईंट झालेत ना बेटा, ते
हा.
जॉईंट झालेत ना. जॉईंट नसते झाले तर समजलं असतं आपल्याला मोबाईल नाही.
हा.
तर असे कोणाचे प्रॉब्लेम असेल तर ते मी म्हणजे कमीत कमी त्यांनी सांगायला तरी पाहिजे ना. मग त्यात आपण आपल्याला दुसरी व्यवस्था काहीतरी करता येईल. म्हणजे ऑनलाईन जर समजा शक्य नसेल तर टेलिग्राम वरती करता येईल, काय जसं बाकीचं करता येईल ना. कारण आता हे असं बरेच दिवस चालणार आहे. आता तुम्ही न्यूज ऐकतच असाल, है ना? जास्त न्यूज पाहू नका, पण न्यूज जास्त पाहू नका. न्यूज चॅनल जास्त पाहू नका, त्याच्यापेक्षा पिक्चर पाहिलेला बरा. नाही खरंच, कारण न्यूज चॅनल पाहून डोकं खराब करून घेण्यापेक्षा पिक्चर पाहून डोकं समाधानी ठेवलेलं चांगलं ना काही माहिती. कारण ते हॉरर पिक्चर चालल्यासारखा असतो तो न्यूज चॅनल. त्यांनी अक्षरशः असं वातावरण तयार करून ठेवलेलं आहे की करोना शिवाय दुसरं काहीच नाही, है ना? ते तसं काही नाही आहे, पण काळजी घ्या आपल्या स्वतःची. बाहेर निघू नका, निघालेच तर मास्क वापरा. याच्या मायक्रोबायोलॉजीचा कमीत कमी एवढा तरी उपयोग करून घ्या तुम्ही स्वतःसाठी आणि तुमच्या फॅमिली आणि फ्रेंड्ससाठी. अचानक मायक्रोबायोलॉजीला फार महत्व आलं.
हो सर.
आणि आपण जे नॉर्मली गोष्टी बोलतो, मी म्हणजे नेहमी सांगताना म्हणतो की हँड वॉशिंग इज व्हेरी इम्पॉर्टंट. 90 to 99% of the infections these are hand borne infections. त्यात परत आता कोरोनाची एक भर पडली, नवीन आहे. तर तुम्ही घाबरलात तर नाही ना सर्वजण कोरोनाला? घाबरलात? घाबरायचं नाही, काय घाबरायचं नाही, आणि घरच्या लोकांना घाबरू द्यायचं नाही. फक्त मात्र काळजी घ्यायची, मास्क वापरायचा आणि हात नेहमी स्वच्छ धुत राहायचे, आणि होत पर्यंत हँड वॉशच वापरायचा. हँड सॅनिटायझरचा उपयोग कमी करायचा, कारण त्याच्यामध्ये अल्कोहोल असतो अराउंड 70%. आणि आता जे मार्केटमध्ये सॅनिटायझर अवेलेबल आहेत ते अतिशय निकृष्ट दर्जाचे आहेत. म्हणजे त्याच्यात नुसतंच स्पिरिट असल्यासारखं आहे, जे की आपल्या स्किन साठी चांगलं नाही. आणि दुसरी गोष्ट, फार हँड सॅनिटायझर वापरला जे अल्कोहोल आहे, तर आपल्या बॉडीचा मायक्रोफ्लोरा पण डिस्ट्रॉय होतो, विच इज व्हेरी इसेन्शियली रिक्वायर्ड. आपल्या बॉडीला नॉर्मल मायक्रोफ्लोरा जो असतो ना आपल्या बॉडीचा, तो असणं आवश्यक आहे आपल्यासोबत. जसं मी नेहमी म्हणतो की आपलं बॉडी वेट -2 करायचं, तर 2 किलोग्राम आपल्यासोबत मायक्रो ऑर्गॅनिझम्स असतात. हे 2 किलोग्राम मायक्रो ऑर्गॅनिझम शरीराच्या आतमध्ये आणि बाहेर असते. त्याच्यामध्ये 2 टाईपचा फ्लोरा आहे. रेसिडेन्शियल फ्लोरा असतो आणि ट्रान्झिएंट फ्लोरा. ट्रान्झिएंट फ्लोरा जो आहे तो कायम चेंज होत राहतो, पण जो रेसिडेन्शियल फ्लोरा आहे तो बदलत नाही. पण असं जर इनएडिक्वेट यूज आपण केला कशाचाही, आपण मराठीमध्ये एक म्हण आहे ना, अति तिथे माती है ना, अतिरेक आपण केला तर ते अंगावर येऊ शकतो. तर सॅनिटायझरही, हँड सॅनिटायझर पर्टिक्युलरली, फार जास्त काही त्याचा वापर करू नका. जिथं गरज असेल तिथेच करा, जिथे पाणी अवेलेबल आहे. पाणी जर असेल तर त्याच्या सोबत एक आपलं पाऊच ठेवायचं सोप हँडवॉशचा, यू कॅन वॉश इट विथ सोप. सो दॅट विल बी मोर प्रॉपर वे टू टेक केअर. या सर्वांना, घरच्या सर्वांना, मित्रमैत्रिणींना सांगायचं की होता होतपर्यंत हँड सॅनिटायझर न वापरता आपण सोप आणि हँड वॉश वापरायचं. ओके, तर घाबरून जाऊ नका, काळजी घ्या स्वतःची आणि अभ्यास करत राहा.
हो सर.
ओके, सो आय विल लिव्ह नाउ. आय विल एंड दिस मीटिंग.
ओके,
तुमचे
थँक्यू.
काय एक्सपिरियन्सेस आहे, काही प्रॉब्लेम असले तर आपल्या याच्या वरती टाका. म्हणजे तुम्हाला आज समजलं की नाही याच्यामध्ये, क्लासमध्ये याच्यामध्ये काय अजून तुम्हाला अपेक्षित आहे, कसं व्हावं, रोज लेक्चर व्हावं की 8 दिवसातून एकदा व्हावं, की 8 दिवसातून 3दा व्हावं, की महिन्यातून एकदा व्हावं. तर ते तुमच्या ह्याच्याप्रमाणे, आता तुमच्या मताप्रमाणे चालावं लागणार आहे ना. तुम्ही जसं म्हणाल तसंच. बाकीचे जे आपले मित्रमैत्रिणी आहेत त्यांना बघा काय प्रॉब्लेम आहे त्यांचा. पण मला तर वाटत नाही की मोबाईलचा प्रॉब्लेम असेल म्हणून, कारण आजकाल सर्वांजवळच मोबाईल दिसतात. तर वर्गातही बरेच जणांचे सायलेंट ठेवलं तरी वाचतात. असं सर्वांकडे आहेत मोबाईल. तरी पण कोणाचे काय प्रॉब्लेम असले तर बघा एकदा आणि लेट अस डिस्कस दॅट ऑल्सो. ठीक आहे. आणि आता पुढचं कधी भेटायचं ते पण मला गुगल वरतीच सांगा तुम्ही, क्लासरूम मध्ये कधी घ्यायचं.
सर डेली घ्या ना सर, 1 आवर डेली घेऊ शकता.
हा सर, चालतं.
डेली घेऊ
11 ते
शकतो
12.
आपण, पण डेली घेण्यापेक्षा मला वाटते आपण 3 दिवस घेऊया. अतिरेक नको, आताच म्हटलं ना, जास्त अतिरेक नको. आठवड्यात 3 दिवस घेऊया आपण. चालेल ना? हा, तर ते कोणते 3 दिवस आहेत ते मी याच्यात टाकतो आणि त्याप्रमाणे घेऊया आपण. आपल्याला आपण रविवारी पण घेऊ शकतो, तो काही प्रॉब्लेम नाही आता आपल्याला.
हो.
ओके देन, थँक यू फॉर जॉईनिंग अँड लिसनिंग टू मी. विल एंड दिस मीटिंग. बाय बाय बाय
बाय.
बाय.